The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Hope you guys had a good weekend, good day yesterday. All right, what do we want to talk about today? Actually, let's start off talking about a few things that took place over the weekend. I don't know if everybody was glued to their TV Friday night watching that Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight. I mean, that whole thing, honestly, it was entertaining, and I really do think what was interesting was it was a fight on a Friday night. You never have boxing matches on Friday nights. They're always on Saturdays. And then, it was on Netflix. And so, if you have Netflix, obviously you didn't have to pay-per-view it and pay 60, 80, $100 to see it. I do think that based on a few guys that I know that really understand boxing, they basically said both of the guys were kind of, I don't know if they called it pulling their punches, but they basically weren't trying as hard as they should have been had it been a real fight. And you can see that with Tyson especially. I mean, he kind of did his Tyson thing where he sort of barrels forward at Jake Paul, but then, never really threw anything. And then they blocked a lot of the punches. Anyway, whatever. I don't know how they make the numbers work, because supposedly Jake Paul made 40 million, Tyson made 20 million. So that's 60 million right there. I guess they did have 70,000 people buying tickets at AT&T Stadium in Dallas. And then maybe all the ancillary rights make it a worthwhile event. But anyway, that was kind of interesting. And then Saturday night, staying on the combat sports theme. So Saturday night, the UFC had a huge event where Jon Jones, if you don't know Johnny Bones Jones, he is kind of known as like the pound for pound best UFC mixed martial arts fighter. He's also, a lot of people call him the GOAT of the sport. He's really, really good. He's never lost, and he had a heavyweight bout against this guy actually from Cleveland, Stipe Miocic. And, what I wanted to say about this thing more than anything was it definitely, these UFC fights have turned into like super bro fest among the conservative Republican crowd. And a lot of that obviously is because of Dana White's, tremendous support for President Trump. But so Trump was there, Elon was there, RFK Jr. was there, Tulsi Gabbard, who else? I mean, a ton of people that, definitely kind of are Trump fans. And so the event, as much as it was a UFC fight, kind of turned into, like I said, a little bit of a fan fest for Trump. Now, I will say this is interesting. So Jon Jones, I mean, this guy's amazing. He's an incredible mixed martial artist and a badass dude. But he is incredibly intelligent. Like, if you listen to him speak, I mean, he really is very well versed in a lot of things and incredibly articulate. I don't know. I'm really impressed with the guy overall. And so at the end so he knocks out Stipe with like this crazy roundhouse kick to like Stipe's ribs, which looked like it like broke all his ribs. But he then started doing the Trump dance. And so this Trump dance has like gone crazy. So now you're seeing, I mean, athletes, professional football players, college football players, so many people after like winning something or scoring a touchdown or doing something, they're breaking into the Trump dance. And you know what I'm talking about. It's like he kind of moves his arms back and forth like I don't even know how to describe it, but it's pretty interesting that has taken off. And I'm going to talk a few more things here in a minute. But the other thing that kind of was part of this event, so I forget if it was Don Jr. or one of those guys posted a picture of, it was actually Trump, Elon, Don Jr., RFK Jr., And then that little worm, this guy's a weasel. Speaker Mike Big Johnson, man, he is on the list now with Lindsey Graham and Benjamin Netanyahu as like, I think he's number 3 in terms of people I can't stand. So they were obviously on Trump's plane, it looks like, probably heading somewhere, maybe to the fight or something. And they're all eating McDonald's, right? And then Don Jr. is holding up a McDonald's fries. And then RFK Jr. has got McDonald's in front of him, along with, I just realized, a Coke. That's funny. So I don't know if they were doing this to troll or what they were doing, but the caption is "Make America Healthy Again starts tomorrow." And so, this was funny to me. I mean, again, by the way, it's like I don't think I've eaten McDonald's in a decade, but let's say, for example, I ate McDonald's today. I'm not going to die from eating McDonald's once. So it's not like this is something that is that awful that they posted it. And again, I would highly recommend do not eat McDonald's on a regular basis. But if you are in a situation where you need some food and that's the only option, go ahead and eat it. But I think this was just dumb. Like, these are dumb posts to make, even if you're trolling or if you're kind of joking or whatever, because the problem is what's done with it. And as you can imagine, the entire left side of the media and social media, went crazy with this in terms of saying, oh, look at these guys. They want to make America healthy again, especially RFK Jr., since obviously that's kind of his tagline and is going to be his task. And so they just ran with it, and it just creates division, and it's just divisive. And like, I just think it's stupid. It's just a dumb post because it's going to get taken out of context. And, here's the sad thing. Even if you are trying to be funny, it's going to get manipulated in a way where, there are going to be, and I'm sure there are millions and millions of Americans who saw that and took it seriously and are angered by it because they think they're getting the wool pulled over their eyes with this "Make America Great Again" or, all this, when in reality, like I said, I'm sure it was intended to be funny and a troll and a joke or something. But this is where you have to like start. You've got to realize the audience, and we are still in a very, very divided state of affairs. I mean, we really are. And honestly, that's among every group, white people and black people, Hispanics, everybody. There are people that absolutely love Trump, and there are people that just absolutely hate him. And those kind of posts, I think they just feed the hate. They feed the hate. I posted this a while back on Instagram where, and gosh, I might have talked about this in a previous episode, but it's like there's Trump derangement syndrome, which we've talked about a lot. But then there's also Trump worship syndrome. And Trump worship syndrome is the people that think he can do no wrong and think that everything that he does is great. And it's not. It's not the case. I mean, case in point being some of his cabinet selections. Like right now, he's picked some people for his cabinet. I'll give you some examples. Marco Rubio for Secretary of State, terrible. This guy for Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, I think his name is. Again, I know the guy is highly decorated, but I don't think that's the right pick at all. That guy, and I think I said this in a previous episode, is a huge Christian Zionist that is completely hell bent on war. He's a warmonger. So is Marco Rubio. He's a warmonger. And so some of the stuff that he's doing doesn't make sense. And it's not everything he does is going to be amazing. And so if you have Trump worship syndrome, I'd highly recommend you stop that and you sort of take a step back and, again, judge the take with him as well. You can be a supporter of him, but he's not going to do everything right. And I really think it's up to the people that are his supporters to point that out, because obviously his detractors are going to point out everything, but it's his supporters that I think could actually get people to look at him more openly by pointing out when, he does something dumb. And so anyway, that little picture with the McDonald's, I just thought that was, you got to read the room, Don Jr. I'll blame Don Jr. for that. All right, moving on. I'm going to play some interesting stuff today. All right, let me play this from this guy. His name is Matt Kim. A lot of you might follow him on Instagram because he really gained a massive audience over the past year. Primarily, he exploded when he gave a take on that Titan submersible. Remember that thing that went down to look at the Titanic and then it imploded and those people were killed. Anyway, he put out an interesting video which I liked. So let me play this.
How conspiratorial are you? Here's a list of the top 8 conspiracy narratives. How many of them do you believe in? 1. Elite and secret societies. A shadowy cabal of powerful elites, often depicted as members of secret societies like the Illuminati or Freemasons, controls global events to maintain power, wealth, and influence. 2. A new world order. A global government is being engineered to control every aspect of human life, often through surveillance, social engineering, and economic systems. 3. Health and science manipulation. Governments and corporations suppress cures, spread diseases, or use health crises for profit or control. 4. Technological control. Emerging technologies like AI are tools for mass surveillance, mind control, or manipulation of public behavior. 5. UFOs and extraterrestrials. Governments are hiding evidence of extraterrestrial life or advanced technology which can change humanity's understanding of the universe. 6. Media and information manipulation. Mass media and big tech are tools to control narratives, suppress dissent, and shape public opinion. 7. Financial conspiracies. Central banks and financial institutions orchestrate economic crisis to consolidate power and enslave populations through debt. 8. Depopulation agenda. There's a coordinated effort to reduce the global population through war, pandemics, food control, or sterilization. Out of 8, what's your score?
All right, seriously, that was pretty interesting the way he laid it out. So let me go through these and I don't know, man. I'll give you some thoughts. All right, top 8 conspiracies. 1, elite and secret societies. This is like the Illuminati. There's something called the Bilderberg Group, but that's actually a real organization and they have meetings and stuff. But like, Freemasons, Skull and Bones. I think I may have played a clip about the Skull and Bones where John Kerry and George W. Bush are both part of that. So this elite and secret societies, probably the Illuminati is the most popular one. I do think that stuff exists. So, okay, I'm a yes on number 1. New World Order. This is the attempt at one global government. A lot of times the World Economic Forum is kind of linked to this New World Order. And then so are sort of the billionaire elite class. Maybe Bill Gates is like the biggest example of that. Do I think that exists? I'm going to go with a yes on that. All right, health and science manipulation. Perfect example would be COVID and the entire COVID situation. I'm going to go with a yes on that. 3 for 3 so far. Technological control. I think he talked about AI as being something along these lines. But, I guess you could really think about this as well as like big tech control, big tech censorship. Absolutely. I think that does exist, considering I got literally my Twitter and TikTok accounts got deleted and I didn't even post much on those. I got fired on my day off on both of those things. That's annoying. All right, so I'm 4 for 4. All right, here's where I diverge. UFO and extraterrestrials. I don't believe in any of that stuff. I think that stuff is all nonsense. I think it's just another way to funnel money to quote unquote defense interests and things like that. So UFO and extraterrestrials, I do not believe in. So I'm 4 for 5. Media and tech manipulation. Oh, this is different than number 4, but again, I'm a go on this. Financial conspiracies. I'm going to actually do a little more in-depth take on the Federal Reserve and its creation and all that, but I absolutely do think that financial conspiracies, are definitely plausible because obviously you control the money, you control people. So 6 for 7. And then the 8th one, the depopulation agenda. God, this is one where I pray this one's not true because the other ones are bad, but this one is just evil to me. This is just evil. So I'm gonna lean on the side of optimism, and I'm gonna say I don't believe depopulation. Oh man, I can't believe I'm saying that. I don't know. That's a tough one, but let's put that in the toss-up category. All right. So anyway, it's pretty interesting, man. It's like, and again, these are things that it's not fun to think about this stuff, and it's not fun to necessarily like even exert brain power toward it. But I definitely think these are things that have come to the forefront, quite frankly, over the past 8 years, and then over the past 4 years. And then most importantly, and I think the biggest jump has been over the past year. And I do think that is caused by the situation in Gaza. Let me play this. This was actually a really interesting clip I heard from this guy on Instagram.
I believe Gaza has changed the world. We have had a year of watching some of the worst crimes we've ever seen in our lifetimes happen, live streamed on our phones. And we've seen our own government supporting it, defending it, and sending more weapons, more spies, more logistical equipment to help the Israelis get it done. That has woken up the world to what our governments really represent, and it's not what we've been lied to.
Let me jump in real quick. So this guy's a journalist named Matt Kennard, and when he's talking about government, he's really talking about the United States and England. So he's based in England, and so when he's talking about our government, I really think he's talking about the United States and England. Maybe you could throw France in there, but it's really those two, U.S. and England, that have been, just unequivocally behind what's taking place in Gaza.
About for years. It's not freedom, it's not democracy, it's not human rights. They care nothing for that. All they care about is projecting their power. And the situation in Gaza has shown that, because how can anyone look at what is happening in Gaza? 20,000 children dead, over 40,000 people killed in all.
Let me jump in real quick. I know a lot of you guys have not followed this, obviously as closely as maybe I followed it. But I mean, these are real numbers. 20,000 children dead, 40,000 in total. And then again, if you did follow this through Instagram and you watched it play out, I mean, the videos and the imagery, it's just horrifying. I mean, it's horrifying. And the saddest part is you've seen, for those of us that follow it, I've seen so much, I hate to say it, you almost become numb to it, which is awful. And I try to catch myself when I see that happening. But like my just unbelievable reaction, months ago, it's not as I guess awful, because I'm almost like numb to these images. That's awful.
The destruction of all civilian infrastructure, any way of living a normal life has gone in Gaza. And all through that, you've had Western governments supporting it, defending it, and regurgitating the propaganda. And also, it has revealed the true role of our media. Our media's role is not to be a check on power. It's to regurgitate their lies. And they've seen that over and over again with Israel. Every Israeli lie that has been told, and if an Israeli spokesman is lying because their lips are moving, every lie has just been repeated by the corporate media, by the mainstream media, and they need that mood music to get their genocide done.
Wow, that was a powerful statement by that guy. And honestly, I do agree with him on so much of that, if not all of it. And I think that's been the thing. And again, I don't think it's as prevalent here in the United States as it is everywhere else in the world. And I've said this before, it's because we just don't care. Americans overall, unless it's happening to us, we just really don't care. We don't care about what's taking place in the rest of the world. And that's just the truth. That's just the truth. Honestly, I think I was guilty of that up until probably, probably my oh God, I guess I have to use the word awakening, but my awakening with COVID and what I was like, okay, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. And that's when I started to really pay attention. But I do think that man, Pandora's box has been opened with this situation the past year, 13 months now, that's taken place in Gaza. And I don't think that box is closing. And like I said, maybe you don't feel it. Maybe you don't notice it. Maybe you're not even privy to it. But I'm telling you, globally, this has changed the dynamic. And, in many ways, it's changed the level of respect that countries outside of the United States have for the United States. It really has. And I bet you any of you that start to travel international, you might notice it. I remember back in the day when I used to travel international and I'd say I live in America. It's like everybody's eyes would open up and they would almost like put me on a pedestal and they'd be like, oh my God, that's amazing. Definitely pre George W. Bush and 9/11. And then even, a little bit maybe post that, but gradually that pedestal has been chopped down. And I think after this stuff in Gaza, I don't even think that pedestal exists anymore. Now, it'll be interesting to see, can Trump regain that? Can Trump regain the world's respect and put America again at the forefront as the beacon for, the good life? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Damn, came out the gates a little heavy this week. All right, my bad. My bad on the heavy episode, but that's all good. All right, we're at 22 minutes. I'm trying to think, do I want to bring up anything else? Let me look. Actually, you know what? Since I've been a little heavy, might as well continue it. All right, give this a listen. I think it's worth listening to. Again, I mean, remember, we are trying to be open to everything and quite frankly, trying to understand the moves and play chess, skate where the puck is going for a hockey analogy. But give this a listen because it touches on, some of the things I've talked about. And again, I hope I am totally wrong with this frame of thought. And I hope this guy is totally wrong with this frame of thought.
Donald Trump is not inaugurated. He's not in office. Just because he won the quote-unquote election, there's a long list of things to go. And I'll tell you what sets off my spidey senses about all of this. They are all acting fairly reasonable. And it's for one of two reasons. One, they are either terrified and they know they're fucking caught and they know that they've got to step in line or they might that's their only chance to not get held accountable. Or two, they have a backup plan to do something terrible to Trump. Now remember, these people fucking tried to kill Trump. The fact that they're calling him and saying, hey, let's do this civil and shit, that's so out of character for them. It makes me think they have another plan.
All right. Again, I mean, when he's talking about he's really talking about all those people that Matt Kim in that first clip I played, kind of thinks is the establishment, the uniparty, the globalists, the ruling class, secret societies, whatever you want to call it. So anyway, I seriously hope I'm completely wrong, and I hope he's completely wrong with anything, weird happening. But I don't know, that does make you think. Like I said, is it? Well, I guess here I'll put it this way. The truth and the rubber will meet the road if release the Epstein file names. I mean, they know who was on the Epstein list, okay? Release those names. Let's see if Trump does that. The Diddy party names. Release those names. Let's see if Trump does that. The JFK assassination. Declassify everything. Let's hear exactly what happened in that. 9/11, declassify everything. Let's see exactly what happened in that. Julian Assange, Edward Snowden. Let's see if he completely pardons these two guys. Now, I know Assange is out, but, Snowden is still living in Russia. And I do think both of them, are not really welcome in the United States. So let's see if he comes out with a full pardon on both of those guys. All right. So I guess my point is, if he does start to do that, God forbid, I hope nothing happens to him. But if he doesn't start to do that, if he doesn't do any of that stuff, then you have to think like, okay, wait a minute, that's weird. So why didn't he do any of that stuff? Oh, man. All right, more to come on that. All right, that's it, everybody. Call a spade, and we'll talk to you soon.
That was a great way to end it.
This episode was brought to you by the new book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You, available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hardcover and paperback. Don't forget to sign up for our new mailing list on our website at deepshallowdive.com.